Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and today I am working with Scrappy Tail Crafts here, and I'm going to show you a different way to work with your dies, to mix your dies. You know, dies are never ending. So for today's project, I'm going to use the A7 purse pop-up, but we're not going to make it pop up. I'm going to use their one of her butterflies. She has 3 beautiful sets of butterflies. And I'm pulling in the whimsical layering daisies as well. I'll be using alcohol markers and my Simon Says Positively inks to add some dimension. So here we go. We are going to start with the purse. I cut it from a piece of light teal cardstock or light aqua, and I'm just going around the edges just to add some dimension. I'm not too worried about it being blotchy because a lot of it will be covered up by the dies to embellish it, the daisies, and everything else. So these are all the pieces. Now I did not use all of them. You don't have to. I'm going to first double up the layers. Like I did with the purse, I'm going to double up all my other layers. Going to come in with, of course, the vintage photo. Can't be without the vintage photo. And I'm going to go around the edge. When it comes to vintage photo, I feel I work better with the sponge dauber thing. I don't know why. And we're just going to add some shading to the edges of the handle and the corner pieces for the purse. I'm also going to layer up this tassel hanger, at least that's what I'm going to use it for. And again, just coming in with some of the vintage photo around that. I used a platinum mirror cardstock by Tim Holtz for the tassel and for the buckles. I took one of the strands from the tassel, cut that off, and that's going to be my loop that connects into the hanger. I'm going to put a little bit of glue just to close that down, and then I'm going to snip it to create a point, and you'll see why. I'm going to add the buckles to the top, and I'll use my jewel picker for that as well. I have one of, this is a Tim Holtz tool, but if you have a paper bead roller or anything like that, that will do fine. You don't need to use this. You can use a toothpick and just roll your tassel up. But since I have this tool, I felt the need to just pull it out. And I decided to only use one layer of the tassel. You could add the other layer to it and make it more fluffy if you wanted to, but I chose just to use one. I've cut that down into a point. And now I'm going to put that down into and onto the tassel and just let that dry without playing around with that too much. I'm going to put the corners of the purse on, and again, they are double layered. So just because by using just 2 layers of cardstock for each, I'm getting some nice dimension on the purse itself. Of course, I moved that before my tassel dried, but we just placed that back together. I dug into my scraps of ink smushed backgrounds that I make. I find it very relaxing. And I'm just, for the base, I cut that from one of those panels. And then I used vellum for the top and just gluing it where the butterfly's body is so that that wing will pop up. I'm going to change my piece of scrap paper there just so I don't get any blue onto my daisies. And for each of the daisies that I die cut, I'm just putting a little bit of yellow by using an alcohol marker in towards the center and feathering it out to the edge, but not going to the edge. I cut many of these, and I've set them up to layer in different ways. That's the beautiful thing when it comes to layering dies, and this is one of them where you can just mix and match your layers to create the flower that you want and the way that you would want that to look like. Now with the whimsical daisies, she's thought of the full view of the daisy, and she's also created the daisies, I forget what they're called. black-eyed Susans. So that the petals are down from the center. In this die also comes the centers for these as well. I only chose to use the centers for the full on, or the ones that are dipping down, the black-eyed Susans. I'm using her centers. Other than that, I'm going to embellish the center of the flowers in a different way. Once I have all of these colored in, again, don't have to be specific. You don't even have to use alcohol markers. You can cut these with watercolor cardstock, and you can die cut from that and use watercolors. You can use colored pencils, whatever you have in your stash. You can do ink blending. If you only have dye inks, that would look pretty as well. And now I'm just layering them up. The majority of them only have 2 layers that I'm layering up. Well, there's a few, I think it's only 1 where I did actual 3 layers. And this is the one here. I'm just putting glue towards the center, and I'm making sure that when I place the die, you can see it's the same shape. I'm offsetting it just a little bit so that you get that full dimension. And by only putting glue in the center, after a little bit, I push down on those just to give even more dimension to that. So now we're just going to continue and put our flowers together. I love mixing and matching dyes. I am a die cutter. I do like to die cut. I think it gives beautiful results. And then just adding a little bit of either dye ink or some type of color to them can really make them stand out and give the allure of realism. That's the word I was looking for. I was going to say reality. I do hope everyone's having a good day. I hope you're enjoying crafting in your crafty space. Okay, so as you can see, this card's going to be a 7x7 card. So I have a panel here cut to 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. I'm coming in with one of my dye inks for the grass. I used Sprout, and then I'm going to use, and I believe, let me check, I think it's called Marine Blue for the Sky. Again, I'm not looking for a smooth background, but the beauty is that looks really splotchy along the top. Remember, with the Simon Says Positively inks, they dry back beautifully and they actually smooth out. So by the time I took this picture, those inks actually smooth out against each other. I'm coming in now with a light green, just a slight darker shade of green than I did for the dye ink, and I'm just flicking. I find it's better to flick towards me in this case, and that just gives the illusion of grass. I'm going to have 3 daisies off to the side. Now, I made a boo-boo here. So I wanted to put the daisies on the other side. And of course, as I was doing this, I kept on telling myself, put the daisies on the left, put the daisies on the left, the ones that are on the stems, and I forgot. So we're just going to make some adjustments. The purse should have been on the right. Once I know where my purse is going to be, or the purse body is going to be placed, I'm going to set that down onto my panel. I'm going to trim off the excess, and you can see I already have tape on my back side. So before I start really putting this together, I'm going to get my card base all set up. And again, this is a 7x7 card base. And I have a piece here of a teal, slightly darker than the body of the purse that I chose. I added some double-sided tape to that. And I'm going to place my panel right on top of that. You saw that I cut out the center. I love my mirror cardstock, so I have to save them. Yes. I'm going to use my U-line double-sided tape. This is an extremely strong tape. I use this a lot when it comes to many layers on my card base, or if I use a lot of water. So if I've ink smushed or watercolored on this panel or did a lot of heat embossing, because mine always warps. This tape will flatten that panel out when you put it down onto your card base by just smoothing it over. Absolutely love it, and it lasts forever. I'm going to use some of my double-sided squares. I'm going to put those onto the purse handle so that that can be propped up and a little bit higher than what the purse was. The purse was only set with 2 pieces of cardstock, so this will bump this up just a little bit more. Again, adding just a little bit more dimension to our focal point here. Once that's set, this is where I said to myself again, okay, I forgot to put the purse on the right side. I really did want the butterfly to be on the daisies. But, you know, we keep going. That's all we do. We just keep going and we keep creating. You never know. You will enjoy what you find. So here now I'm just playing with my daisies. I'm going to use sometimes some double-sided tape to bring up the main one, flipping up those petals just to give a little bit more dimension. And now we'll be using some glue to just set all of our daisies in place. I've set aside the daisies that I'm using for the right hand side with the stems to make sure that I don't put them on this purse. And I'm just coming in off of an angle. So kind of covering the left hand corner detail, but also coming into the kind of center of the purse. So it's kind of like an angle. I'm adding the tops to our daisies there. And then getting those set in place, just angling them in different ways to give it a more natural look. And then that main one is going to sit up at the top. And that one I will use a double-sided foam square. And I just set that in place as well. Now that I know my butterfly is going to stay there, I'm going to set it using some double-sided foam tape. And then just placing more of the daisies in there, trimming off the edge so that I can get it up underneath that other flower because I did use glue. So just getting that set in place and then filling in with the smaller ones tucked in underneath the larger ones. I have a spare piece here, so I want to fill in that bottom blue section there. So I'm going to set that right there, and I will trim off those edges from the panel. So the flowers are coming up off of the panel over the mirror mat. To me, that gives it kind of a little bit of movement. And here's our tassel, and I'm going to keep trimming that down until it is at the right spot, which is right there. I'm going to place a little bit of glue and tuck that up right underneath that buckle. I chose a sentiment. I have a little tiny plastic case just filled with past sentiments that I either embossed or die cut. I chose Sunshine and Rainbows, and I'm using the gold satin pearls from Scrappy Tails, and I'm using those as my centers for all of the other daisies, since I did not use the die cut pieces. Just add a little bit of glimmer. I'm also going to add these pearls to the buckle and to the top. And that is our project for today. So again, another way to use your die, another way to mix your dies, because they all go together, and to give you that feeling of spring. Because yes, we need spring to come. Absolutely. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's project, and the products that I used will be listed down below in the video description if you would like to check out her website. If you haven't yet, I'd love for you to subscribe, so make sure you hit that button and make sure you hit the thumbs up. Everyone, have a great day. Continue crafting, continue creating your art, because that is what it is. But always remember what is most important to me for each and every one of you. Always be creative and enjoy. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Till then.